You know, I was
happy to have you aboard here for the Really Big Barbecue Show.
to keep on because
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
it's got a lot of power.
Come on, Greg. You're asking a guy whose team name is Pellet Envy. So obviously the answer you're going to get is no.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Fine, how you doing?
Charbono. It's all about the Charbono, dude. I just like being anywhere with Junior, Senior, and Diva.
Sounds like a whole other type of movie.
Wow. Yeah, really.
You could use it to fight off creeping marauders looking to take your steaks off your grills.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
But listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
How hot is Kelly Ripa in person?
Kelly Ripa is super hot. She's absolutely delicious.
Oh, yeah.
You could butter baste her and pint smokies with that girl. She's delish.
Well, to put it briefly, let's just say I went to school.
There's no Robert Porker who's in charge of pig meat out there.
Is it not correct to properly classify you as Harry Sue's pit bitch?
I was his pit bitch for 6 weeks. I had no shame. I was. Keep it hot, keep it clean, keep it lubricated.
Succulent fish. What?
This right here is the Premier Media Alley.
So did you see this one? Tiger Woods has gone ahead and checked into sex rehab. Hey, Tiger, guess what? Everybody's addicted to sex.
I'm shaking like a dog shitting peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Who? Top men.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Barbecue Central Show After Dark. Oh, yeah. Happy to have you aboard. We're into our second hour. Just a bit after 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time right here on the Barbecue Central Radio Networks. Thanks for joining me. Once again, if you want to call in, ask my guest coming up here in just a second some questions, you can do it toll-free at 877-448-0433, 877-448-0433. All right, without any further ado, let's go to the hotline. Joining me now is the pitmaster of Smokin Trigg's barbecue competition cooking team and the darling of barbecue shows everywhere on television. Johnny Trigg joins us here on the show. Johnny, how are you tonight, buddy?
I'm doing great.
Johnny, appreciate you taking the time out tonight to come on and talk about a lot of barbecue stuff here. And you are out of, is it Alvarado, Texas?
Alvarado, yeah.
Alvarado, Texas, all right. So let's go ahead and first things first, we'll look at what happened just this past weekend. You competed out there at the Lake Havasu City, Arizona competition. 71 teams show up, and you walk away with the Reserve Grand Championship. How did the cook go for you? Did you have any issues that you needed to contend with during the cook?
No, I thought everything was going over real good, and I was happy with all four categories that I turned in.
Is it typically when you're happy with all four that you do well, or is it usually the opposite?
Well, it's kind of a mixed bag. A lot of times I think I do real good, and then I don't right there. But most of the time, when I have good stuff going, I do pretty good.
It looked like, if you're going back through the results of each individual category, that chicken was kind of the Achilles heel, finishing well behind the other three meats. I think chicken took a 24th. And, a lot of the competitors that I talk to say that chicken is one of the things that they struggle with during the competition season to be consistently well at. Does the same hold true for you? And if so, why do you think that is?
Well, first of all, I thought my chicken was outstanding. I don't know if I got a bad table, or whatever, but historically I've done real well in chicken right there. It's been one of my strongest suits right there, but here lately it's been kind of falling off, so I've got to do some fine-tuning on it, I suppose.
When you find something falling off after you do, obviously you're not going to be doing wholesale changes weekend in and weekend out, but as you see a category starting to fall off, what do you start to tweak with to get those scores back up?
Well, I sit back and think about what all I did, and if I miss something, and most time I'll sit down and write it out. exactly what they did to it, and then sit there and look at it and see if I missed something right there. But in this case, I didn't. So I just think I got a bad table at that day. We had a lot of new judges out there. In fact, I would be willing to say 95% of them are trained on Thursday night at the judging school.
And this was a first-time competition?
When that ever happens. Excuse me, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Johnny. This was a first-time competition?
It was a first-time competition, and I didn't see any veteran judges out there at all. And so usually you'll see, even at a first-time competition, y'all recognize some of the judges, because I could call over the country, have been for the last 10 years. But I think, and you look at when I got my scorecards and looked at the numbers right there, you could tell that there were new judges.
Johnny Trigg of Smokin Triggers joining us here on the Barbecue Central show after hours. I'm sure, Johnny, most teams would be happy to swap positions out with you, but does the competitor in you leave the contest with a little disappointment or a little bitterness because you were just one step away from being overall grand champion, or does that really not even enter your mind?
Oh, no, I was real happy to get the reserve champion. I'll take reserve every time I go to a cook-off, right? But it was, they had 70-something teams out there, and a lot of the teams were new teams. They'd never cooked before, and the promoter attributed it to the Pitmasters show, because it is really brought out a lot of new cookers all over the country and get involved in barbecuing.
No, I bet, and we're going to be talking about that in great detail here in just a few minutes. Where are you going to be competing at next, Johnny?
I'll be in Pensacola, Florida this weekend. It's another first-time contest.
You like the first-timers, huh?
Well, it's early in the season right now, so you don't have a lot of choice. And I love to cook, and I like to go in just about every weekend. I do 40, 45 events a year. So this is a brand new one up there. It's not going to be near as large as Lake Havasu. I think they've got something like 35 or so teams off at this number. But the ones that are pre-registered are real good cooks.
There you go, and still a good showing for a first-time competition out there. So good luck there in Pensacola coming up this coming weekend. So let's go ahead and transition over into some KCBS stuff. Obviously, you do a lot of competing within that sanctioning body. You've been involved with the KCBS for a long time. You've seen a lot of things change over the years. In February, actually, the board of directors had a meeting, and there was some talk starting to come up about allowing propane cookers into competitions as well. Now, obviously, they've never been allowed in there in the past, but what are your thoughts on that subject matter?
Well, it really doesn't bother me. I'm still going to be a wood cooker, and but if they do allow propane, I don't think they'll have any advantage. In fact, personally, I think it'll be a disadvantage. But I can't imagine that happening. No, I think they may have been talking about it, but I just can't imagine it's going to happen.
Well, some of the counter arguments that I've been hearing as far as allowing propane in would be the fact that you've been allowed to use these automatic pit temperature control devices. A lot of these pellet cookers have the thermostatic control, so I guess the needed learned of fire management skills has kind of gone away, and then kind of couple that with the fact that perhaps there would be some propane gas suppliers out there willing to sponsor up for more prize money for the contests. But I guess I'm more interested with the comment that you just made as far as propane being at a disadvantage. Why would that be?
Well, I think you're going to put a different type of flavor in your meat. Propane is a petroleum-based product, and I think it's going to affect their meat. Of course, I'm sure they'll add some wood to it if they use a propane cooker like a rotisserie, some of the commercial cookers out there. But as far as getting back to the pellet cookers, there is the electric aspect of that cooker. It just it feeds the pellets down to be burned. All of the heat source comes from the pellets, which is a wood substance.
Do you think with the allowance of the pellet cookers and some of these other pit temperature control devices, John, do you think there's been kind of a losing of the art of fire management and of traditional barbecue, or is this just the evolution of the sport and you're damned if you do, damned if you don't?
Well, because I'm from the old school, and I've never cooked anything but with wood. And a barbecue is to me is wood flavored. And one thing, the reason that so many people are going to the pellet cookers, they're inexpensive. They're not near as expensive as a wood cooker, and they're much easier as long as they work. To me, they're just like an oven. You set a temperature and set it there, and it'll sit there and maintain that temperature as long as nothing happens to the circuit board or the auger doesn't get jammed or whatever. Whereas in a wood cooker, all you have to do is we maintain our heat by the dampers of the stack and also in the firebox, and we can control our heat by the dampers. So I just think a wood puts a much better flavor in than a pellet cooker does.
The bottom line is, if they would allow propane cookers, you don't have any issue with that?
No, I really don't.
So within the KCBS, and you've seen a lot of things change and go on there over the years, is there one thing or two things that you would like to see changed within the KCBS that you feel would make it a better overall sanctioning body?
Well, there's no such thing as a perfect judging procedure right there. I thoroughly think that the KCBS is by far the best cooking system judging system out there, and I've cooked with just about every different ones that are available, and I think it's more fair because there's only 6 judges taste your meat, and the meat is also always warm when they taste it. Whereas so many of the other organizations, the meat is cold when the judges taste it. Of course, it's fair to everybody, but I just think KCBS is heads and shoulders above all the other organizations.
All right, so let's go ahead and transition over just into some general competition talk here for a little bit before we get into some other items, especially the show. I mean, you've cooked on a gear pit for a long time now. I don't think it's any secret that you and Jamie Gear are very good friends there over many years, and you've seen new pits come into the market. You've seen those pits start to win competitions here and there. Has changing out pits ever crossed your mind, or is that a big hell no from you?
Oh, I would never change to another cooker. I mean, I've cooked on one of Jamie's cookers since 1993, and I have 2 of them at this moment. And I just think they're the best cookers out there, and it's been a proven of fact. So many people that have bought them have started doing real good with them, and so it's by far the best cooker in my mind out there on the market today.
We're talking with Johnny Trigg from Smokin' Trigger's competition class, also on TLC's Barbecue Pitmaster show that aired here recently. Johnny, if a pit manufacturer came up to you, and I guess I'm playing devil's advocate here because I know you do love the gear pit, but if a pit manufacturer came up to you and wanted to offer you a sum of money in order to use their pit for a competition year, kind of sponsor you that way, is that something you'd even bother looking at, or is it still a no for you?
I think I would be willing to listen. I've had other pit makers approach me to use their cookers, and at free of charge. They never offered me any great sums of money to do it, but I just can't envision myself cooking on anything but a Jumbo pit.
So there's a number of listeners that I have in my audience that are probably more on the periphery of competition barbecue, probably don't know a lot of the ins and the outs here, but they hear the word professional or professional circuit, and I would imagine that some of them assume that there is some substantial money out there to be made during these competitions over the course of the season. And I talked with your barbecue class colleague, Rod Gray, a few weeks after he had won the Team of the Year out there in Arizona at the end of 2009. We kind of discussed some of the finances that he had come into there over the course of that year, winning Team of the Year and all that good stuff. You've done this for a long time. You know that there's a lot of expense involved in doing this, especially for the amount of competitions that you're doing there, Johnny. Year to year, are you losing money? You breaking even? You making a lot of money? Or is it kind of a combination of everything?
Well, I've fared out pretty good, break even. Now you might say you can't make a living cooking competition barbecue. I mean, the way I travel, most of the time I'm in a 40-foot motorhome, and that's very, very expensive. And here in the last year or so, I've been going a lot in my truck. But here again, I stay in motels, and so it's about a wash there. But there's a lot of expense involved. The entry fees continue to increase, and more so probably than the percentage of the prize money. Now, a lot of the new cook-offs are coming about. They're beginning to offer more and more money into it. But the entry fees is also going up. So, and expenses, fuel's going up and meat's going up and everything. But I love it, and I've done all right through the years, so I have nothing to complain.
But it's nothing, like you said, just nothing you're going to be, quitting a day job to pick up full time and pay the bills.
No, well, I'm retired anyway, so I've got 3 sponsors as it is, and that's Social Security, Retirement Fund, my IRA. So that's what I have. So, but people keep asking me. I'm 71 years old, and people keep asking me when I'm going to hang it up. And my response to it is when I can't do it anymore. Right there. So right now, Mama and I are in great health, and we love it, and we can't wait till this weekend and get to Pensacola.
I guess what I find interesting is the fact that, there's some other specialty events out there. For instance, I've interviewed the guy, Joey Chestnut. He's the #1 ranked competitive eater out there for Major League Eating. And he did, for instance, 15 events last year. He won the majority of them. He pocketed well into the 6 figures for prize money for those events. And the bigger event promoters and competitions would actually kind of take care of his expenses for him to show up and compete at these events. Do you ever see something like that happening in the competition barbecue world as far as that type of sum of money to be able to win over the course of 15 or 20 events, or for competitions paying for Johnny Trigg to show up and kind of comping you for all of your fees and your travel expenses? Is that happening at all?
Well, sponsorship is becoming a known fact this day. The cookers have got sponsors. And I can visual where the competition has gone since I started doing competition in 1990. Has increased, and I just wished I was 20 or 30 years younger, because I can vision that this thing could turn into a PGA or NASCAR or something like that, and you're going to see more and more sponsors get involved with cookers, and because the money is getting greater and greater every year. And new cook-off is coming about. Even in the depression, when we had this recession in the last 2 or 3 years, I figured the money would drop, and also the cook-off would drop. We lost a few cook-offs, but the money has increased, and there's more and more new cook-offs have come in to replace the ones that have dropped. So I call it a sport, and I think you're going to see more and more competitions, new ones, and the money's going to get more and more.
Well, if golf and bowling is a sport, then competition barbecue for sure as hell is a sport. One of the questions I wanted to ask you about is if you think it's going to take it to that next level, like a PGA or something to that respect, do you think that there is going to be a delineation within the KCBS or some of the other bigger sanctioning bodies where perhaps only a smaller percentage of the elite teams are going to get invited into something like that and be able to participate for that kind of cash payout and stuff like that?
Well, it's been talked for the last few years about starting a tour with, say, 15 or 20 cooks and touring around the country, and with a big prize money right there. But it hasn't materialized yet. But as long as the talk, I mean, somebody's thinking about it, and so who knows what's going to happen. I just hope I'm physically able to do it.
All right, so let's transition into some cooking class talk here before we get in and end the show with the TV show, Barbecue Pitmasters. Again, we're talking with Johnny Trigg. He's a pitmaster of Smokin Trigger's competition team. He's going to be out there in Pensacola, Florida, this coming weekend, so be sure to check him out if you're around that area. you teach or taught the old school versus high-tech cooking class along with the aforementioned Rod Gray of Pellet Envy. I guess perhaps now it should be renamed old school versus older school, since kind of Rod has gone to that strictly Jambo pit from now and switched off those Effie cookers. But there seemed to be a noticeable growth in the number of these classes, especially over the last 4 years or so. So let's go ahead and kind of take this question in two parts. I guess first, as a whole, do you think that these classes are being held in order to more subsidize the team's ability to generate more income or revenue, or do you truly feel that these teams are just looking to give back more than anything else, and the financial gains are just kind of a side benefit?
Well, I can only answer for Rod and I. Rod and I teamed up about 3 years ago, and the last count we taught over 500 students. And some of them are cookers as good as we are. I mean, it's amazing, because it just shows you never get too complacent where you can't learn something. But I think Rod and I really started the cooking classes because there's more and more cookers, or some of them are not veterans, some of them had a little bit of success, haven't been cooking very long. Now they're teaching. So, I mean, that's okay. But the word got out when Rod and I started cooking that we weren't telling the truth right there, but we advertised we will show you exactly what we do at a competition, and that's what we did. And I even went a step further and told them in the classes, if you think I'm not telling you the truth, if you're ever at a competition where I'm cooking, I prep my meat starting around 7 or 8 o'clock on Friday night, you're more than welcome to come in my motorhome and watch me and see what I'm doing. But that rumor got killed, and people realized that we were telling the truth, which some of the others people that are teaching, I don't know if that's true or not, but I've heard rumors that they're not telling the truth.
I guess that was kind of the second part of my question would be, some of the biggest concerns that I hear from people asking me about, what classes should I be looking at, or what ones that I would refer people out to, is the fact that students are, kind of worried they're going to be paying $400, $500, $750 to go to a cooking school. I mean, certainly a sizable chunk of change under any economic climate, regardless of the one we're under right now, and that the person or team putting the class on will hold something back in order to preserve some kind of edge, since they are still out there competing alongside of these people. I mean, did you hear similar concerns with folks looking to sign up for your guys' class? And obviously, there were some rumors out there about you and Rod holding back, but obviously not the case. But, I mean, is that something that you guys had to address from people looking to take the class, that they were worried about that?
Well, yes. When we first started, in fact, some of the other competitors out there were putting the word out there that we weren't telling the truth, and we wouldn't tell the truth. But I think that got squelched pretty quickly, because so many of our students came out and started winning. Some of them had never won a contest in their life. I can give you an example. One young man took our first class, and he had never won a grand champion, and he went out a couple of weeks later and won a grand champion, and that grand champion got him qualified and got picked to go to the Jack Daniel's World Championship, and he won the Jack Daniel's World Championship that year. So, I mean, I think that speaks for itself, but that's just one case. We've had a number of people have done well, and Rod and I both get phone calls, and when people see us, they tell us about how much they learn and how much has helped them. And we have increased our students in our class by these people going out and starting to beat other people. And then they said, hey, we got to take that class, which this year I've taken a leave of absence due to the Pitmaster show. But Rod is continuing to teach. He's got 3 classes, and they're all 3 of them are full now. So I think that's a proof on the pudding that people know that we were telling the truth.
So showing everything, I mean, are you not concerned in some form or fashion that giving away all the competitive advantages in your process during the class is potentially going to be working against you, knowing that you're going to be seeing some of these guys running up against you at competitions down the road?
Well, they still got applied. I mean, even though we sit there and we show them and we give them a pad and a pen to write down and take all the notes, and we recap it all the way through the class, but they still got to apply it. And one of the famous questions we always got in all the classes, what if? And I said, stop right there. Don't say what if. We're showing you what we do right here. So they're still going to maybe tweak their recipes a little bit anyway. So, in which I thoroughly encourage them. If they got something going good for them, don't change it because we're teaching this class. We're just showing you what we do, and we hope you'll pick up something along the way to help you. And it doesn't bother me one iota right there because I've competed with some of the people that I taught this past weekend, Lake Havasu, and I will this weekend in Pensacola. Everywhere I go now, and we've taught so many that I'm going to be competing with them. But that doesn't bother me at all.
Johnny Trigg, the pitmaster of Smokin' Trigger's barbecue team, breaking it down for us here on the Barbecue Central show. Johnny, do you and Rod kind of keep a side tally as far as how many students you've had and which ones have actually gone out and beaten you at something during the course of a weekend, or is that something that perhaps might be a little too bitter than sweet?
No, I don't. Rod keeps up. Of course, he's a high tech man, and he's keeping statistics on number of students and how many we've taught and everything. But I don't think he's kept up who does what and so on. But we get told all the time. There's hardly a week doesn't go by that somebody doesn't thank us for what they've done. And they've never got a call in this, or they've never won a category, or they've never won a grand champion, and they let us know. And that's gratifying. I really, when I'm at a contest and I see some of our students go up to the stage, which I've sat there and watched them, they've never gone up. And then all of a sudden they start going up, and that makes me feel good.
And certainly, I guess what a lot of people would come to know is barbecue guys and gals always giving back to the new people coming up or new people that are looking to kind of better their skills, and certainly no better example of that than what you and Rod are doing. Again, Johnny Trigg from Smokin' Triggers joining us here on the Barbecue Central show. So let's kind of go ahead and transition this. This actually kind of transitions us nicely into the show portion, or the TV show portion of the interview. You're holding off on doing the cooking classes, probably specifically to see if there's going to be a second season of TLC's Barbecue Pitmasters. So I have to ask the obligatory question: do you have any breaking news that I can scoop from you tonight, right here on the Barbecue Central show, regarding a second season of Barbecue Pitmasters?
Well, we haven't been officially told that there's going to be a second season, but I can tell you they brought 4 of us to New York about 3 weeks ago to take still photographs, and we spent all one day Friday taking photographs, and I don't think that TLC would have spent that kind of money bringing us up there if there wasn't going to be another season. I think but they haven't told us, but that there will be. But I think it's going to get started probably mid-year. We'll start probably filming maybe in May or June right there, and it'll start airing in maybe July right there, because everywhere I go, people just, I've been to 4 cook-offs this year, and I have been swarmed during the cook-off by people coming up and wanting autographs, picture taken. And I mean, I did 2 in Texas, 1 in Florida, and 1 in Arizona at Lake Havasu. And it's been the same thing at all of them. And people are getting involved into barbecue as a result of this show. And the other pitmasters that were in the show, when they go to a contest, they're getting the same treatment. So, yes, I think there'll be one, even though we haven't officially been told.
Autographs, pictures, and groupies. A bunch of hot chicks coming over there too, Johnny, or what? Is it just like rock and roll now?
Well, yeah. I've had some interesting things where they wanted autograph signed, but I refused.
There you go. Oh, well, I know where you're going with that. We'll leave it there. All right. So I interviewed John Marcus a few weeks back. He had mentioned how quickly, this whole show came together. It was really at breakneck speed. So he used his quote unquote go-to people in order to cast this first season. John, undeniably a very accomplished person when it comes to TV, Emmy Award winning, I might add. How do you come to know John prior to the show in order to get this nod?
Well, I got acquainted with John in 2005 when he did his first show, and I was the first person that he came to. It was in Mobile, Alabama, where he came to and invited me to do his show. that year, and I didn't like the concept, what he was doing. I couldn't use my pit, couldn't use my brub, and I didn't know what I was going to be cooking, and I graciously said, I'm not interested. And he says I said a little strongly than that, but John and I became very good friends, and still are today. And he has cooked with me 3 or 4 times, so John is he's got barbecue all over him. I tell you, he's a very accomplished writer and has had very good success. And he had the Pitmaster show was put together in about 3 weeks before we started filming, and John would like to. He's got some ideas if they have a second season that when he's going to make some changes, will make it a little bit more interesting.
So when John approached you to be on the show, were you in right off the bat, or did you need some time to think about it first?
No, this time, in fact, when he called me in early August, I was either the first or second when he called, and I said, "Count me in, friend," right there, because I liked what the concept was, and he told me who was going to be in it, and right there, and he had 7 personalities, and as the show turned out, well, I think everybody could see that, and so it was very, very enjoyable, and what was amazing, we were together all of us were practically living together for 8 weeks doing all these shows. And there was never one cross word among all of us, include the production company. We just always one big family, so we had a great time.
Did John tell you how he pitched you to the network? For instance, he was kind of making Tuffy out to be the professor. Did he tell you how he pitched you?
Yeah, well, I heard that later that he put, because I'm the old man of it right there, and he called me the godfather of the show. Right there, so that sounded kind of rough right there, but everybody gets a different picture of me right there. Thinks I'm a mean old bastard or something like that, but I've got a lot of tenderheartedness in myself.
One of the questions that a lot of people wanted me to ask, and I've been remiss in not asking Tuffy or Leanne, but I can ask you because I have it written down. I'm not forgetting. Were any of you guys compensated by TLC or the production company and all for doing this?
Oh, yes, we were compensated.
Right, I'm not going to ask how much, but a lot of people didn't know if it was just FaceTime camera thing that was good enough.
No, we were compensated, and they took good care of us.
Was it between $1 and $500,000?
$1 to $500,000. Well, that's getting close.
There you go. Talking with Johnny Trigg from Smokin Triggers. He's the pitmaster, going to be in Pensacola this coming weekend. Was there any kind of adjustment that you needed to make, or did it take some time to get used to the cameras being on you all the time?
No. The first one, we were a little nervous because they put a mic on us Friday morning, and it stayed on us until Saturday afternoon until we was over with, and we were a little nervous about what we said and everything. But then after that contest, we said, "The heck with it. They're going to edit it out anyway." So John and Brian Catalino, the director, they could be listened. They had a button they could switch, listen to any one of us at any one time right there. And no, we weren't. I wasn't nervous, and I don't think any of the rest of them were too. We just did it. They told us to be natural. That's what they wanted it to be, just like we were. Like they weren't even there. Like we were there at a competition and doing our thing, because we were out there trying to spread the word to the American public what barbecue competition is all about, and show that it is a family affair, and I think we came across with that.
After the hours and hours of film that they compiled of all of you, and seeing how they finished it into the weekly shows, overall, were you satisfied with the job that they did in regards to how true they kept it to those specific individual competitions, or do you think that they went ahead and reached for a few things to make it a little bit more TV-esque?
No, because they had so much that they couldn't show us there. Because, like I said, they filmed us for two solid days. In fact, in the night too, because some of them were out there doing cooking at night as well. And we had a camera on us nearly the entire time, so there was a lot of footage there that they couldn't show. But overall, I was happy with the way the show went. They progressively got better as we went along. And then the Johnny Trigg shootout, which showed the last episode there where we weren't at a competition, we just had a ball there kind of ribbing each other right there. Like Myron, I had Tuffy right in the middle of us, and we kind of worked him over pretty hard. Right there. But we had a great time.
Was that shootout, was that shot at your place of residence, or was that somewhere else?
No, it wasn't. Everybody thinks it was, but it wasn't. It was at an old resort west of Fort Worth, about 50 miles.
Now, I heard that TLC corporate or network was perhaps a little disappointed with the fact that the cast didn't pull off many wins during the show. Do you think the network has kind of a legitimate gripe about that, or is this just the fact that this is competition barbecue, this is what happens, and no matter who you cast, the results will trend to be the same?
Well, I think you can go out there at a given weekend and look at the results of that. I mean, there's no given fact that anybody's going to win all the time, week in, week out. I mean, it's just not impossible. But one thing that I think they could have showed right there, like in the individual categories, which they didn't show when some of us won a first place in a category, and they didn't show that and play that up as well. They were more interested, I think, in the overall winner. But so if they just showed us in the categories, for instance, in Decatur, Alabama, Tuffy had a first brisket and I had a first rib, and they really didn't play that up as much. But that was they learned a lot, and I think if they do it again, which I think they will. Now, where they come back with the same people again, or they get some new ones or whatever, now, who knows what's going to happen. But I think it'll be, they learned a lot the first season, and they'll do better the second season.
Talking with Johnny Trigg, he's the pitmaster of Smokin' Trigger's barbecue competition cooking team. John, I mean, certainly there's no argument that 4 of the 7 of you kind of really made the big splash during the first run. You, of course, Tuffy, Stone, Leanne Whipp, and Myron Mixon seemed to kind of be the breakout stars for season 1. Did you 4 make an extra special effort to kind of try and stick out more than the others, or was it just the way the cards fell for the 4 of you guys?
No, it is the way the cards fell. I mean, we were everybody got the same attention. Camera time, we were at cook-offs. No one got any more than the other. Well, Myron, I think, he was the lead guy. He was in all the shows, and the rest of us, weren't in. Some of them weren't in as many as others, but I think I was in all of them but one. But everybody on site there got equal footage for time.
Are you surprised with the amount of attention that you're getting now at the various competitions? I know you kind of mentioned that here a couple minutes ago, but did you expect it after the show had aired that you were going to be getting the love, or has this kind of overwhelmed you, and has it hindered you at all during the competitions?
Yes, I was surprised. I wasn't even expecting it. I was expecting a little bit, but nothing like what we're getting. I mean, for instance, today I was out running around, and I had 3 people stop me. And I said, "You were on the barbecue pitmaster show," and I said, "Yes, I was." And they just comment how much they like it. But that's where everywhere we go. I mean, even out in Lake Havasu, people recognize me not at the cook-off. So that really surprised me how much recognition that we're getting, and this has happened to all 7 of us.
So if the show gets renewed for a second season, is there any 1 or 2 things in particular that you would like to see improved upon? Well,
I think it would be better if we were all shown on each episode and not pull some of us off. And I think they should would show more preparation instead of just the final result, which they kind of emphasized in that more than the preparation. We had the authority at any time to tell the camera to stop if we had anything, but I only told them one time, and it was for a minor detail to stop filming, so I wasn't hiding anything. And I think it's quite funny because when I was tutoring Paul, and I was showing how to do my ribs. Now, of course, I was amazed how many people recorded this, and it was on the barbecue farm here recently about dissecting my ribs, and I got a chuckle of that. I mean, they were trying to figure out exactly. They got pretty close, but they missed some stuff.
People are that interested, huh? DVR, slow motion, all that good stuff.
Oh yeah, standing still.
All right, so let's.
Right, that's okay, but that's just the. I mean, I took that in consideration before I did the show.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. I know people that have actually, when they showed Tuffy Stone in his office with his Excel spreadsheet up on his computer monitor, people were pausing it and trying to copy down what was on there. I think they got hip to that and they ended up blurring out the screen. But, I mean, that just goes to show you what people are going to go through, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's only human nature. You know, you're always trying to gain more and more knowledge out there. And, of course, a lot of people, if they took our class, they'd see it anyway. So, we have shown, Rod and I have shown over 500 people exactly what we do. So, and there's a bunch of them out there, of course, for one reason or another, can't go to the class, so they're trying to dissect it and get it for nothing. So, that's all right.
So I had Gary Notley from Notley Q on here a couple weeks ago, and I thought he had kind of a unique perspective since he wasn't technically one of the main cast members, but he was working with Harry Sue, so he got to see a lot of stuff there in the periphery, and he was involved in an episode as well down there at Dover. But we played a little name association, or I'd mentioned some of the cast members to him, and just wanted to do the same thing with you and get some of your thoughts about each person individually. So we'll go ahead and start with Slap Your Daddy's Harry Sue.
Well, Harry is, I call him a novice cook. He hasn't been cooking more than, I think, maybe 3 years right there. And he's done quite well in California. But when he got out in the circuit with us on the show, he found out the competition is a little more keener than it was out in California. So right there, so he had to eat a little humble pie.
Does he have potential to be one of the really good ones, or do you think he'll just stick on the West Coast?
Well, I think Harry needs to get him he cooks on the charcoal on the Weber bullets. I think he needs to change his get him a little better cooker right there. And Harry's in the computer business, and he's got everything all wired up, 2 or 3 computers doing this, doing that right there, and I think he's getting away from what barbecue is. So, but whatever works for him right there. But I think he needs to change his cooking operation.
How about Jamie Gear?
Jamie Gear is Jamie. He is a good cook. He got away from it for about the last 15 years. Got into other things, and but before, when I started cooking, Jamie was starting to cooking, and Jamie is a real good cooker. And he just got rusty, and he would begin to come on as the season went on. And of course, he's one of the best pit builders in the country, right there, as far as I'm concerned. But Jamie's a good cooker.
I think, probably when he was actually competing on a fairly regular basis years ago, this is a guy that kind of changed some of the KCBS rules with the way he was cooking. I mean, this guy was winning. He was really probably one of the better and unfortunately lesser known really good cooks out there when he was doing it.
Yeah, but he wasn't cooking KCBS, and he was cooking IBCA here in Texas. And he until this past year, Jamie hadn't cooked that much KCBS, so that he was a little bit of a disadvantage there. He's been to the American Royal a couple of times. He's been to Jack Daniels one time. So, but he really hasn't cooked that much KCBS, and it's KCBS and IBCA. I mean, the judging is completely different.
Right.
Presentation and so it's a lot different right there. But Jamie was coming on as the season ended.
Miss Woodchick, Leanne Whippen.
Leanne is she's one of the best female cookers probably on the circuit. There's not that many females that are cooking these days right there.
John, I gotta let me interrupt you. Is that a slight to say that she's one of the better female, or she's one of the best female cookers out there? Can you not say one of the better cookers out there?
I would say she's one of the better females cookers out there, but I wouldn't say she's one of the best cookers out there.
Okay.
No. You got to go look at people's results. Right there.
Is she obviously she plays well to the camera, but do you think perhaps at a certain degree is she overrated?
Oh, like I said earlier, right there, they had 7 different personalities on the show right there, and she fit the role that she was picked to do, to be a good female cooker right there. She had a little problem with her boyfriend right there at the end, and they split up, so that kind of hurt her a little bit because she was out doing it on her own for the last two or three cook-offs. So, but Leanne's a good cook.
So going from a team of 2, which obviously you're very accustomed to, but I've talked to some cooks that are out there that do very well, that are a team of 1. Is it difficult to go from having a helper to having to run the whole show by yourself? I mean, you are at an extreme disadvantage at that point.
Well, she is particularly at a disadvantage because the type of cooker she had. She had a big rotisserie cooker. She had the green eggs. She had Weber bullets right there, and so she had to have help to set all that stuff up and maintain. I mean, she had a lot of things going on at the same time, so it's kind of hard for one person to do it. Where I've cooked a number of times by myself. In fact, 2 of the contests I've done this year, I did by myself. So, but it's much easier. I only have 1 cooker, and the Jambo pit is so easy to cook on right there. And so, but it does help when you've got some people helping you.
Myron Mixon did a little pussycat. Everybody has gotten upset with him with his language and everything. Myron is good as gold. He'll do anything in the world for you. He comes on gruff, sounds gruff, and he's a big talker, and but he'll do anything in the world for you. And Myron is, of course, he's probably the best hog cooker in the world, and his background has been Memphis and May, but he has switched over to KCBS in the last several years because there's more money involved in KCBS than it is in Memphis. Because Memphis is kind of dying by the wayside anyway. But and he saw the light where the money is. But he's coming on and doing real well on KCBS, and he's a good cooker. You look at Myron Mixon. Here's a guy that has been Team of the Year for Memphis Barbecue Network a number of years. He's done very well, and really, if you look along some of the top teams, he's really maybe one of only a select few, if any, that go and walk at the Florida Barbecue Association, at KCBS events, and at Memphis Barbecue Network events. Taking all that into account over the course of a competition year, is it out of line to call him the most accomplished barbecue cook out there right now?
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think so, because he's got. I mean, for his KCBS, he's got a long ways to come for. I'd consider him as master at KCBS. He's kind of win some majors. He starts doing that, then I'd give him credit for it. As far as the Florida Barbecue Association, I never cooked one, but I've cooked against the Florida Cookers and KCBS contest down in Florida, and I don't think those cookers are coming on. They're gaining strength every year down there, but I don't know how many Myron does down there, but. I still consider him primarily one of the better Memphis cookers than anything else.
Talking with Johnny Trigg from Smokin Trigger's barbecue competition cooking team. They'll be down there in Pensacola, Florida this coming weekend. So if you're down there, stop by and say hi. He'll be the guy with all the hot chicks and crowds of people looking to get autographs on various places of their body. Wanted to save the last person here, Paul Peterson. I watched every episode. There was a lot of buzz on internet forums about Paul and how he came off very poorly, cocky. I'm a chef, and I'm going to go out and teach all these barbecuers one thing or the other, and it really ended up falling on his face, or at least the version that we got to see. You took him under your wing. You did the whole mentoring process there that we got to see during the course of a show. Your estimation, Johnny, you were around him a lot. Did he get a raw deal in the editing process, or, was he really kind of a dick and he had to eat crow?
Well, Paul came to Mesquite and also Decatur, and let me back up first. Paul is an accomplished gourmet cooker. He's a graduate of the American Culinary School in New York, which is one of the best culinary schools I understand in the country, in the world maybe. And but he was coming out there applying all of his culinary skills to barbecue, and that just doesn't work. And he finished last in Mesquite, and then he came back and finished last in Decatur. And that's when Jamie and our wives were walking up to the hotel to have a drink with the film crew and all that night, Saturday night. And Paul was sitting out there on a bench with a beer in his hand, all head all hung down. I just walked over and put my finger on his chin. I said, "Hold that head up, Paul." I said, "You need help." And because this barbecue is redneck cooking, it's not gourmet. And I said, "I'm willing to help you if you want help, but you've got to come ask me for help to help you." And we went into the bar, and I told John Marcus and the film crew of what I just did. And they just looked at one another, and they said, "That's exactly what we were thinking about, asking you to do a show." I said, "I'm willing to do it." And so that's when it all started, and I did it at the invitation of the American Royal. They wanted me to do it both days, and I said, "No, I'll do it the first day, and then I want him to cook the second day." It was unfortunately, though, that we couldn't get him parked close to me. He was on the other side of the building over there, but he's right next to Jamie. So Paul did everything I asked for him to do. He came. The film crew brought him out to my house, and we sat there by the kitchen table for an hour and a half on one night, and I read him the guidelines, what I expected of him and what he was supposed to do. And I gave him a pen and an 8 by 12 tablet, and I told him that I wanted him to be writing everything I did when we were cooking, and I explained to him, and I showed him exactly what I did, and I didn't change a thing. And we recapped it. I'd stop, and I said, "Okay, let's recap it, Paul. Tell me what I did." And I told him certain things. He would only have one strike. If he violated, he was gone. And then some other things, he'd have 3, and after the third one, if he wasn't there. So we didn't have that problem. Everybody thought when he was 2 minutes late that Saturday morning that I was going to kick him out. But I told him we would light the fire at 3:00, but I told him to be there at 2:45. So he got there at 2:47, but he couldn't get in. He had to climb the fence to get into the American Royal. He didn't know where the night gate was. But he's a fine young man. He went and cooked the Open the next day. He didn't finish last. He finished 177. He was out of 500 teams. He finished 62nd in ribs, and so he was in the top third there. So he did well, and he continued to do better each cook-off that we went to. And so I was very proud for him, and I don't know what Paul was doing if he's doing some cooking, but I told him he needed to get out and do some competitions around here in Texas so he could continue to improve himself.
Did you get a little skittish when you heard that he went to the cherry rub there on a couple racks of ribs?
Well, I went over there and I asked him. I said, which I'd already heard. Jamie had already told me he deviated from my rib recipe, put the cherry rub on there. And so I went over there after we turned in. I asked him how everything went, And then, of course, I already knew he'd put that cherry rub on there, and I asked him, I said, Paul, did you do exactly what I told you? And he hauled around and kind of looked down the ground. He said, no. He said, I put this cherry rub on the ribs. But it turned out he took 4 slabs of ribs, and he put 2 of them with the cherry rub and 2 that the way I showed him. And he burned the cherry rib ribs up, so he turned in the ones that I showed him.
So overall, I mean, you think Paul got a raw deal with the editing of the show, or do you think that was really kind of true to form, and by the end he kind of squared off and was headed up the ranks of being a fairly decent barbecue cook?
Oh yes, he brought it on. He had to eat a little humble pie right there to begin with, because he came out to Mesquite. I mean, and I guess rightfully so, because he was a gourmet trained chef, and he knew food better than the rest of us, but he just didn't know how no barbecue, and he had never really done any barbecue cooking until that time. Even though he did say he did went to 2 or 3 contests, but after quizzing him in depth, they weren't much of a contest that he went to. He wasn't a regular section type cook-off. But anyway, he did, and the whole crew and all the other 6 contestants teams, they took him under their wing, and everybody was nice to him.
Johnny Trigg from Smokin Triggers, pitmaster, going to be in Pensacola, Florida this coming weekend, breaking it all down for us. Competition last weekend, a little KCBS talk, some cooking school talk, and wrapping it up here with the Pitmasters show on TLC. Johnny, I know I kept you late. I appreciate you hanging through the interview. Lots of great insight, information, and most of all, I appreciate the honesty and your willingness to come on the show. And let's not be strangers. Let's do it again soon.
All right, my friend. I enjoyed it.
All right, thanks, Johnny. Take care.
You bet.
There he is, Johnny freaking Trigg. 55 minutes in, I think. Damn. I know that was long. I appreciate each and every person hanging in, but lots of stuff. I couldn't believe as I was sitting down writing out the questions here over the course of the day today, and a carryover from the weekend, that things just kept coming up. There's so much stuff that you can ask Johnny. He's been around it all. He has seen it all. He's competed in most of it, except Memphis Barbecue Network for the first time on the show there. But lots of honest answers. Lots of honest answers that might not appeal to some people. But look, here's a guy that's laying it all out there, and he's telling it like it is. So take it or leave it. One of the all-timers when it comes to competition barbecue. So we'll see if the second season gets picked up. And I'm sure he would be at least one of the 4 for sure to be on there. So look at me doing that again. Unbelievable. All right, let's do this. It's going to do it for me. Got to wrap this up. Upload it, Willie, for the podcast, Jones. It is 11:02 Eastern Standard Time, Centralites. Thanks for hanging with me for an in-depth After Dark with Johnny Trigg, and thanks again to him, Johnny Trigg of Smokin Triggers. It's going to be in Pensacola. First-time competition, back-to-back first-time comps. So watch out. It's got to be an odds-on favorite to take that. Thanks again to my regular time slot guests, Steve Foreman and Scott Roberts. We'll see you back next Tuesday as we start our month-long barbecue roundtable episodes, baby. Yeah, the roundtable. Everybody loves the roundtable. It's going to be ribs coming up next week. JP Custom Smoke, Robert McGee from Munchin' Hogs at the Hilton, and Dan Hickson of Three Eyes Barbecue. Stay tuned for that next Tuesday special show. After Dark guest to be announced. You can stay up to date with me on Twitter at BBQ Central Show, on Facebook as well. And until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.